Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 16. Chapter 16 Signing into Polaris, Electromagnetic Forces. Weiss, are you a mutant who just joined the underground organization? Polaris was so curious about the man in front of her who took her time from start to finish and rescued her from the detention center as if she had been in a no man's land. The feeling of being carried on his back, as if no one in this world can hurt him, that kind of safety is unprecedented. I am a student of Mutant College. Mutant Academy, X-Men. Polaris reacted in an instant. Then why did you come here to save me? Because Clarice wants to come back to see friends. Levi's was very straightforward in explaining why he was here. After listening to Polaris, she felt a little lost. She thought that Levi's was here to save her. Clarice, thank you. No need to thank you. If it wasn't for you, Lorna, I would have been arrested too. Clarice smiled and shook her head. Polaris also smiled when she saw this, and she was glad that she had saved Clarice in the first place. The vehicle moved slowly. Soon they were back in the underground stronghold of the abandoned steel mill. Mutant, who stayed here, was very happy to see Polaris being rescued. To thank Levi's, Thunderbird threw a special banquet. The crowd had fun. Wes, thank you this time, otherwise, we might not be able to save Lorna. In front of the bar, Thunderbird thanked him again, and went straight to the belly after a glass of wine. You've thanked him many times. Levi's shook his head indifferently. By the way, why are you here? I mean, why don't you join the X-Men, or the Mutant Brotherhood? Thunderbird's strength is not weak, and ability has a very comprehensive leadership temperament. If X-Men can be added, its role is not weaker than Storm and Cyclops. Moreover, joining the two parties, ordinary people will not trouble them, such as the Sentry Secret Service. I thought about this too, but I met Lorna and the others at that time. Thunderbird began to talk about how he met Polaris. And Levi's listened to his narration while drinking. After 3 rounds of drinking, it was getting late. Thunderbird patted him on the shoulder. Wes, I have prepared a room for you, just stay here for a while longer. No problem. Levi's nodded happily. Needless to say, he must stay here for a while longer. After all, there are so many people who can sign in. The next day, early in the morning, Levi's reported the situation to Storm and learned that Polaris had been rescued, and Professor X and the others were relieved. In fact, what he didn't know was that Professor X's mental power had been watching him last night. Otherwise, if they didn't reply to the news overnight, they would have been in a hurry. Morning, Lorna. When I just went out, I didn't expect to meet Lorna. Levi smiled and raised his hand to say hello. Morning. Lorna returned with a bright smile. His expression moved slightly, and then he checked in with Polaris directly. Has the host checked into Mutant Polaris? Close black lens bracket. Sign in. Open black lens bracket ding. The sign in is successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the super ability, electromagnetic force, and 100 experience points. Close black lens bracket. It turned out to be electromagnetic force. Levi's was surprised when he saw this super ability, but he didn't expect to sign up for electromagnetic force. You must know that electromagnetism is one of the 4 basic forces of the universe. Magneto's super ability is electromagnetism. It's a pity that his strength is limited, and the most he can play is to control steel. In the reverse future, Magneto's electromagnetic force is the strongest after Apocalypse's strengthening, and he can even use electromagnetic force to induce the entire Earth's magnetic field. That destructive scene, Levi still remembers it to this day. And the electromagnetic force can not only control the steel, but also launch the super electromagnetic gun. Thinking of this, Levi's only felt that the DNA moved unconsciously, and could not wait to pull out a coin to fire a railgun. What's wrong with you, Weiss? Polaris couldn't help waving his hand in front of him when he saw his eyes fixed on him. Ah, it's okay, I just remembered something happy. Levi said with a smile on his face. A happy thing? Polaris looked at him oddly. By the way, have you ever thought about joining X-Men? Join the X-Men? But my father is Magneto. In fact, Polaris has long known his origin from his aunt, but because he resented his father Magneto for abandoning him, he never joined the Brotherhood. An X-Men is the opposite of Mutant Brotherhood, and she has no idea of joining X-Men. As for the Hellfire Club, it has always been very secretive, and no one knows how to join. That's why Polaris, together with Thunderbird and others, formed the Mutant Underground Organization. When Polaris told Levi's this, he finally understood why Polaris was here. In this case, I think you should join the X-Men. Levi's looked at her and smiled. Why? Polaris wondered. You should hate your father for abandoning you now. That's right. Polaris nodded. Professor X and Magneto are old enemies. Don't you want to join the X-Men and make some trouble for Magneto? Levi said with a smile. When Polaris heard his words, his eyes lit up. Fighting against her father to vent her dissatisfaction with her father, her rebellious heart made her approve this idea in an instant. Okay, I'll join. Welcome to join, Levi said with a smile. At the moment, he could already imagine that Magneto's nose was crooked when he knew that his daughter was specifically against him. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 17. Chapter 17. I was confessed by Miss Polaris. When Polaris told everyone about joining the X-Men, everyone's reaction was mixed. Some helpless people also agreed to join the X-Men, but some mutants who came from here were reluctant to leave. Thunderbird, how is it? Would you like to join the X-Men? Levi's and Thunderbird came to a nearby bar. Thunderbird frowned when he heard his words. If I leave, what will happen to these people? Thunderbird has been with people in the underground organization for a long time, and they have deep feelings for each other. If he wants to remember to abandon the remaining mutants like this, he can't do it. Is that so? Levi's had nothing to do for a while, so he called Storm and told her about it. There is no doubt about Thunderbird's ability. If joining the X-Men will undoubtedly make them stronger, but considering those who are reluctant to leave. In the end, Professor X gave a proposal. That is, Thunderbird and the others still join the X-Men, but they don't need to go to Xavier's school. It's like they belong to a sub-base of X-Men development. X-Men will fully support Thunderbird. For example, the next time mutant is caught, X-Men will come forward to rescue people. On the other hand, Thunderbird must obey X-Men's arrangements when necessary. I agree. Thunderbird agreed without thinking. After all, it is good to enjoy the shade under the big tree, and their life will be much better if they hang the name of X-Men. Welcome to join, let's toast. Levi's raised a glass to welcome him. Now that he really regards X-Men as his home, he naturally hopes that X-Men will become stronger and stronger. Everyone was very happy when the news of Thunderbird was told to others. With the big tree X-Men around, they don't have to worry about it every day. In his spare time, Levi's looked at his system panel. Open black lens bracket host. Levi's close black lens bracket. Super ability. Vector operation, space movement, freeze control, fire control, energy absorption, electromagnetic force. Super ability level. LV.3 level 3 mutant. Open black lens bracket experience value. 1500 close black lens bracket. Looking at his panel, Levi's is in a very good mood, and now he only needs to continue to sign in 5 times to become a 4th level mutant. And his next goal has been found. Hey, alone. While Levi's was in a daze, Polaris sat beside him. Ah, yes. Levi's mouth twitched slightly. Would you like to go out with me then? Polaris invited. Okay. Simply having nothing to do, he agreed. However, Clarice, who was not far away, looked a little sad when she saw the two who were leaving together, and Mei came to her side and patted her on the shoulder comfortingly. The other side, Levi's and Polaris came to the bustling streets. Polaris wrapped his arms around him quite naturally. Levi's was a little uncomfortable, but she let her go. While the two were walking down the street, Polaris began to ask him something. Weiss, I still don't know what your ability is. It looks too powerful. Polaris still can't forget the scene that night when Levi's rescued her from detention in an invincible manner, as if no one could hurt him. This ability really shocked and curious in her heart. Definitely, it doesn't matter if you don't want to say it. Hee, it's okay, it's not a secret anyway. Levi's smiled and shook his head. As you can see, my ability is reflection, which can reflect any object, whether it's a bullet or an electric current. Well, in addition to that, there are the ability to freeze and move through space. These are the abilities that were used that night. Even if he didn't say Polaris, he would have guessed some of them, so he might as well say it outright. It turned out to be a mutant with many abilities. Polaris was a little surprised. Although he had seen him use multiple abilities that day, it was still shocking to hear him admit it himself. You must know that mutants with multiple abilities are rare, and every ability is so powerful. Polaris looked at him in amazement with a pair of beautiful eyes. He couldn't believe that the man in front of him was so powerful. What's wrong? Look at me like that. Levi's looked uncomfortable. I like you very much, do you want to be my boyfriend? Polaris said with a big smile. What? Levi's was a little confused, but he didn't expect him to be confessed by Polaris, and he was so straightforward. Although he used to like Polaris in the TV series very much, but in reality it was only the first time they met. As far as I know, Clarice isn't your girlfriend yet, Polaris added. It's not, Levi said helplessly. Then why didn't you say yes? Polaris came up to him and looked at him closely. Faced with Polaris' bold confession, he has a headache. Although he does have a good impression of Polaris, the two are just acquaintances, and they don't know each other very well. He is a person who takes his feelings very seriously, and he doesn't want to agree so hastily. It was at this time. Boom! Suddenly, there was an explosion not far away, and even the ground trembled slightly. What happened? Levi's attention was drawn in an instant, and he was also out of the embarrassing situation. Polaris felt a little regretful that he didn't agree, but she didn't care too much. She believed that she would be able to conquer this powerful man in front of her. Why don't we go take a look? Polaris suggested. Levi's nodded. Soon the two came to the site of the explosion, which was a bar. At the moment it was very chaotic outside the bar, and people kept running out of the bar in a panic. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 18. Chapter 18. The Strucker twins appear. Forget it, let's leave. Standing outside, I couldn't see what was going on inside, and Levi simply didn't want to pay attention to it. Okay then, Polaris wasn't interested either. However, just as the two were about to leave, Levi's inadvertently turned his eyes to a man and a woman running out of the bar and left quickly. These two. He frowned and looked at the direction the two were leaving, always feeling that he had seen the two of them somewhere. Is it them? Levi suddenly remembered two people, Lauren and Andrew, known as the Strucker twins. Both siblings are mutants, and their ability is manipulators. Sister Lauren can condense molecules, mainly by condensing water molecules. The younger brother, Andrew, is capable of destroying molecules, thereby causing a powerful destructive force. And when the two join hands and work together, they can release powerful energy to destroy everything, and the destructive power is comparable to the 4th level mutant. You must know that the 4th level mutant is very powerful, and it can be called the ceiling level among the mutants. As far as he knows, the current 4th level mutants are only Professor X, Magneto, Scarlet Witch, Apocalypse, and the Strucker twins in front of him. And the 5th level mutant has only Jean Grey, which is Phoenix. This shows the scarcity of level 4 mutants. Maybe get them into the X-Men. Definitely, recruiting them is just incidental, the most important thing is to sign on both of them. The Strucker twins have the ability to manipulate molecules. What can manipulators do? Molecules are composed of atoms in a certain bonding sequence and space arrangement and the whole united together. Everything in the world is made up of atoms. When atoms are arranged in a certain bonding order in space, then molecules are born. Molecules make up everything in the world. It can be said that as long as you can completely manipulate molecules, you can manipulate everything in the world. At that time, it will not be a problem to create things out of thin air, change life expectancy, etc. Definitely, Levi's is not very clear about the specific things that can be done. Maybe he should read more books on this. Otherwise, if you get the ability but don't know how to use it, you will be in vain. Levi's isn't catching up now, because he knew that the Strucker twins would be delivered sooner or later. Return to the underground stronghold of the mutant organization. Polaris didn't mention the previous confession, but her attitude towards Levi's was even better. Mutants from the entire underground could see that she was interested in Levi's. This made Clarice, who had always liked him, a little uncomfortable. At the same time, the other person who was suffering was Marcos. Looking at Polaris, who was talking and laughing with Levi's, he only felt as if something had been stolen. Make him feel bad, but no one cared what he thought. The next day, Levi's woke up early in the morning and his goal today was to sign on the Thunderbirds. Thunderbird's ability is like a whole body evolution, giving him supervision, hearing and smell, as well as powerful strength and an indestructible body, etc. This ability made him a little jealous. After all, the ability he currently possesses will not strengthen his body. It is said that the body is the capital of everything, and he values the super ability of Thunderbird as much as any other ability. Hey, Lorna, where is the Thunderbird? After searching around and not finding it, Levi's could only ask Polaris, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room. Oh, he's on the phone over there. Polaris pointed to the room to the side. Thanks. Levi's thanked him and walked towards the room. As soon as he approached the room, he heard the sound of Thunderbird making a phone call. There was a lot of noise over the phone. John Proud, the leader of the Mutant Underground Organization, my family needs your help. The voice on the phone sounded very urgent. Oh, maybe. Thunderbird didn't care. Remember the mutant attack on the bar yesterday? They were my children. Really, if that's all you want to say, I'm sorry I can't help. When Thunderbird heard what the other party said, he was somewhat impressed by yesterday's news, but he still didn't intend to help. After all, the two sides don't know each other at all, so there is no need to cause trouble for themselves. And many more. The other end of the phone was a little anxious, as if afraid of being hung up. Give me a reason to help you, Thunderbird said patiently. Hearing his words, there was no sound on the other end of the phone, as if he didn't know what to say. Just as Thunderbird was about to hang up, Levi's pushed the door open. Wait, don't hang up yet. Thunderbird was a little surprised to hear what he said, but he didn't hang up. Can I talk to him? Levi's smiled at the Thunderbird. Definitely. Thunderbird readily handed over the phone to him. Hello, Mr. Strucker. You are. The man on the phone was Reed Strucker, the father of the Struckers. X-Men, you should know. Levi's chuckled. The average person might not know the name of the X-Men, but Reed is an inspector who often deals with mutant. He must know about X-Men. As predicted, are you from the X-Men? Reed Strucker also thought about asking for help from X-Men after knowing that his two children were mutants. But he didn't know where X-Men was or how to get in touch. Moreover, far away can't quench near thirst, so they will find the Thunderbird, the leader of Mutants Underground Organization. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 19. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator. Chapter 19 Sign in Thunderbird, Evolution. As a prosecutor who has always been on the opposite side of mutant, Reed is indeed a good father. After discovering that the two children were mutant, he decided to give up his career and choose to protect the children. It's the exact opposite of what another mutant Rebecca's parents did. Yes, you should know about the mutant attack at Garland Detention Center. Yes, that's what I did. Reed was a little surprised to hear this. After all, this matter has been very noisy these days. A powerful mutant released all the mutants in the detention center, but the Sentry Secret Service couldn't do anything about it. I didn't expect the other party to do it. What do I need to do to get your help? You don't need to do anything. Having a powerful mutant join us X-Men is very welcome. I want to meet you. Reed didn't quite believe what he said, so he wanted to chat face to face. No problem. Levi's agreed without hesitation. After figuring out the location of tomorrow's connector, he hung up the phone. Thunderbird was a little puzzled. Why help them? Maybe it's a trap. I was there when the bar was attacked by mutant yesterday. Levi's smiled and added, and do you see me as someone who is afraid of traps? Thunderbird shrugged and said nothing. He remembered the night when Levi's single-handedly rescued Polaris, and his strong and unafraid of any danger really shocked him. Perhaps this is the attitude mutants should have. Thinking of this, he was secretly envious. Although he also had an indestructible body, he couldn't stand the stun guns of the Sentry for long. By this time, Levi's had signed on the Thunderbirds. Open black lens bracket ding. Did the host check into the mutant Thunderbird? Close black lens bracket. Sign in. Open black lens bracket ding. The sign in is successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the super ability, Evolution, with 100 experience points. Close black lens bracket. As expected, he obtained the Evolution super ability. He checked it carefully, and was immediately surprised. Because this evolution ability is really too strong. Evolution can make the body stronger overall. For example, Thunderbird's supervision, hearing and smell, powerful strength and indestructible body, etc., are all abilities brought about by the evolution of the body. And today's Levi's body is also slowly evolving, and this process may take a few days. And this ability increases with the level of mutant. That is to say, as if he was promoted to the 5th level mutant, maybe he can compare to Superman's body of steel in physical strength. At that time, strong eyesight and hearing, awakening heat ray, and super hearing may be possible. Thinking of this, Levi's couldn't help showing a bright smile on his face. Come on, Thunderbird, let's go have a few drinks. In a good mood, he took Thunderbird directly to drink. The next day, Levi's and Polaris go to the Mutant Bar, which is the industry of the Mutant Underground organization and is usually used as a place to gather intelligence. Since Thunderbird needs to deal with the organization's file-size affairs, the two of them have to come. When they came to the door of the bar, the two pushed the door and entered. There were not many people in the bar in the morning, and Levi's quickly locked the middle-aged man sitting in the corner with a worried face. If nothing else, this man is the father of the Strucker twins, Reed Strucker. Levi's and Polaris looked at each other and walked over. Reed found them when they first entered the door, and he knew that the person he was looking for was coming. Hello, Mr. Strucker. Levi's and Polaris sat opposite Reed. Are you X-Men? Reed asked in a low voice, frowning. Definitely. Levi's nodded. Can you send my child to safety? A safe place. Mr. Strucker, I want to ask you, as a mutant, what is the safest place? Levi's smiled unhurriedly and ordered 3 cups of coffee at the same time. Reed couldn't help but be silent when he heard this. Now the conflict between mutant and human beings is increasingly intensified, and officials in many places are suppressing mutant. Once mutant is caught, he will face various human experiments. Reed, as a prosecutor, is very aware of this kind of thing. Professor X's reputation, as you should know, the professor has always been committed to creating an environment where mutants and human beings can coexist peacefully. He founded the Mutant Academy to teach and protect all mutants, so. I promise. Before Levi's finished speaking, Reed couldn't wait to agree. He knew very well that now only Xavier's school was the best fit for him. After all, the 2 children were still in school. But they can't go to ordinary schools, they can only go to Mutant Academy. Welcome. The corners of Levi's mouth twitched into a smile. With the addition of the Strucker twins, the X-Men can become even stronger. At the same time, he can also sign in to obtain the powerful ability of manipulators, which is simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Mr. Straker, after dark, you can go to this location. Where will we wait for you? Polaris explained the location of the night connection. The meeting place this time is a bit far away, and Reed also needs to go back to prepare, and then take the family to the meeting point. In short, take them back to the headquarters of the underground organization. Levi's would then contact Storm and ask her to send someone to pick up the Strakers. American Comics. Opening sign in Accelerator 20. Chapter 20. The Strucker family was kidnapped. Thank you so much then. Reed thanked him and stood up to leave. Mr. Straker won't go without a cup of coffee. Levi's chuckled. Thanks, but no need. Reed was so worried about his family that he had no intention of drinking coffee here. Levi's shrugged and didn't stop him. Weiss, I wonder why you attach so much importance to the Struckers. Polaris has always had some doubts. Didn't I tell you? Mr. Strucker's child is a 4th level mutant, and the bar explosion that day was caused by their awakening power. So that's what it is. It turned out to be a 4th level mutant. Polaris was a little surprised. She knew very well how powerful the 4th level mutant was, such as her father Magneto. Although she hadn't seen Magneto in person, she could usually hear what Magneto was doing from other mutants. Level 4 mutant is enough to change the world. Just like Professor X, Magneto, Apocalypse, Scarlet Witch, etc., which one is not a person who has a strong influence on the world? Not to mention the level 5 mutant Jean Grey who almost destroyed the world. The Strucker twins have just been born, and if left unguided, into the hands of Hellfire, there will be huge amounts of impact on the entire world and the future of mutant. While the two were chatting, not far from them, a blonde woman moved her ears and seemed to hear the conversation between the two, and then the woman quietly left the bar. Levi's and Polaris sat for a while before returning to the Mutant Underground headquarters. They need to be ready to pick up the Strakers at night. Because of the drone patrols of the Sentry Secret Service during the day, it can only operate at night. Time soon came to evening. Levi's and Clarice, Polaris, and Harry, the Black, waited at the junction. This is an abandoned steel factory, the lights are a little dim, and the surroundings are pitch dark. Levi's, who was waiting for boredom, looked around and said strangely, "Were there 4 of us just now?" "Yeah." Clarice gave him a strange look. "Then have you noticed that one person is missing?" "Who?" Clarice and Polaris were a little puzzled, the 4 of them were clearly here. "It's Mr. Harry. Did you see Mr. Harry?" Levi's spread his hands. Clarice and Polaris exchanged glances. "Isn't Mr. Harry here?" Polaris pointed beside him. "Ah, I think maybe I'm too dark," Black Harry said, quite self-aware. "Oh, so Mr. Harry is here. I said he can be invisible without using ability." Levi suddenly realized. Hearing him say this, Clarice and Polaris finally understood that he was making fun of the Black Harry. Clarice couldn't help but chuckle. Polaris also laughed out loud. "Harry, not to mention, he is so black, standing in the dark in black clothes, if he doesn't show his white teeth, he can't usually be seen." "Haha, just kidding, don't mind Mr. Harry. It's okay, I've seen too many jokes like this." It was a sad story for Harry. While talking and laughing, the 4 of them had been waiting for an hour before they knew it. Half an hour has passed since the appointed time, but the Strucker family still hasn't come. "What's the matter? Mr. Strucker doesn't seem like a punctual person." Polaris was a little puzzled. "Ah, maybe they have something to delay, let's wait a bit," Levi said helplessly. Yet at this moment, his phone rang, he picked it up and looked, but he didn't expect Thunderbird to call. "Hello, Thunderbird, the situation is not good. The Strucker family was robbed." "What, was it kidnapped by someone?" "It's not clear yet. Thunderbird just received Reed's distress call, but the call was disconnected halfway through, and he didn't know who robbed the Strucker family." Levi's was a little angry, but he didn't expect that someone would dare to rob him of what he liked. And only the Sentry Secret Service knew that the Strikers had mutants. "Is that what the Sentry Secret Service did?" "This is unlikely, we have not found any trace of Sentry's Secret Service dispatched through surveillance," Thunderbird replied. He frowned upon hearing this answer. Then there is only one possibility. After knowing it wasn't the Sentry Secret Service, Levi's had a guess. In addition to the Sentry Secret Service in this area, only the Hellfire Club can rob the Straker family at this time. If he expected it well, the one who stole the Straker family was the black girl at the top of the Hellfire Club in the original book, Ability. The black girl is called Rua. She is a 3rd-level mutant, and her super ability is infrasound. As long as she opens her mouth, she can move infrasound attacks. Those who are enveloped by infrasound waves will pass out in a very painful coma. Even mutant, if he can't resist, has no resistance in the face of such infrasound waves. Black Sister Rua's purpose is to create an ideal world that belongs to mutant. And to do this, all humans must be eliminated. The purpose of her kidnapping the Strucker family is self-evident, that is to use the power of the Struckers to destroy all human beings. It can only be said that Rua after Blacken has fallen into madness. Not to mention whether the Strucker twins have the ability to destroy all human beings. Even if there is, it cannot be done. After all, the water in this world is very deep. Please like and subscribe.